Jane is a visual artist whose work explores how things work and how people fit together. When she came to our orientation last August, she told the group, "I feel like a bit of a fraud. I've only been writing poetry in the last year or so." She is the real thing, not one bit of fraud, as you are about to discover. Please welcome Jane Loechler.
Thank you, Jared. I want to say that, first of all, I want to say about Jared that he runs the program like no writer left behind. This man, totally takes care of us. And also, I just want to say, there's a lot of people I want to thank. I've gotten a lot of support from my family. I especially want to say that to my sons, Brad and Craig, I'm just really happy to have you here tonight because their support came in a form that only kids can give their mom, which means a lot of sacrifice. So I'm really glad you guys are here. And I also just want to say thank you to Steve because without him, I would not have applied for this. So I'm going to read several poems that are stories of a sort. And then I'm going to read a few from a collection that I'm working on. The first one has an epigraph by Laura Ingalls Wilder. Laura felt a warmth inside her. It was very small, but it was strong. It was steady, like a tiny light in the dark. And it burned very low, but no winds would make it flicker because it would not give up. These happy golden years. The breath of my future exhales audibly through your beard and mustache. You bring out beaver pelts and I stop short of the word poach, headed off at the pass because this is new and I like new things. You press my hand deep into soft foxtails and I am suddenly so sure I want to break horses under buttermilk skies, picket the cow to grass, churn butter, and rinse my face in the wash basin at day's end. Wait, my eyes open. You give me a hand up. We are clumsy, pushing naked bodies into our shoes, laces left to sprawl. In this shambolic room, the floor dips and creaks. My mind rallies back because this is no porch, but a lean-to on the Dakota Plains at the edge of Indian Territory. No, I step across the dark in a slight crouch. We stand naked in the smoked meat night air of your rented yard on a county road. Our pale bodies illuminated by cones of passing headlights. And you are nothing like Pa or Almanzo. Naked, you are a barrel of whiskey, hands on hips and feet planted, a warm arc of piss onto the waiting ground. Even as a girl, knee-deep in the Plum Creek of my young mind, I understood why Mr. Edwards was single. There. Your finger like a dart points at a cluster of maples in the moon shadows, and yes, I can see it too, the shape of a neighbor's dog or cat, someone's pet. You say dog, but when I look up at you, a rifle perched on your shoulder, steady enough to freeze me stiff. My thoughts tumble into the long winter ahead. I will never wear a blue-lined poke bonnet or beat the egg white stiff for my wedding cake to bake in the potbelly stove. But for a long stretch of days, I will twist up hay to burn when the poaching runs cold. Mercaptan is a chemical that they put in natural gas lines so that when you smell, so that you will smell a leak. And I tell you that because the name of this poem is Mercaptan Halos. After 27 days of rain, the children have finished every shiver, and we've used every ruse in the book. We tell them they're just tired. I blow out the pilot and promise them a treat. Tonight they will not sleep in their matchbox beds. They reach with antenna fingers to question my fattened paunch. Like a field mouse, the littlest climbs up to nuzzle my hair, hoping to find an open ear. Stopping along the way to sniff, she licks the salt off my cheek and whispers what the others want to know. How much smaller do we think they can get? I tell her we have nothing left to give, and it's time to tuck them into the lantern. Like a nurse, I arrange their limbs to fit with the words of Hushabye Mountain, your voice more golden than ever. The winds of night so softly are sighing. We turn the wick down low, like children will do, noses wrinkling at the foul smell. They say they are neither cold nor tired, but hungry. I roll up the towel to go under the door. We sink into the sofa, their tiny eyes wide open upon us, like we're here to rob them. I am the most wanted, I joke, from behind my bandana, masked with perfume. I give you a nudge. Just as you fade, they begin to glow like fresh-born infants. Their blue lips plump into crabapple buds before springing into pink. They dance in a ring around the rosy light, and one by one, they jump and crumple into the flame. This is called Married Student Housing. One orange left in the crisper, sugar for the wine, and a tray of ice cubes. We have housework to do, so we drink. Sangria from the same coffee mug, my fingertips smooth inside rubber gloves as I strip the floor bare below your feet. On the porcelain drain board, a ceramic elephant looks down at me with laughing Buddha eyes. I look up at you, tall enough to reach light bulbs, my ladder. On the boombox, Mick sings our favorite flavor, cherry red. He said one word to me, and that was dead. The smack of your hand against the cupboard door, I flinch. I'm the one who always leaves things open. You bellow at anything in your way, like sharp corners in my ass. I turn back to the floor, add head injury to a running list. Car wreck, cancer, a slip and fall in the shower after you masturbate instead of waking me. Or an accident at work. The rumble across soccer fields, everyone in town would hear it. The thud, the echoing boom, clouds of jet fuel blooming, the sound of exploding airport. My ear tuned for the sirens. And now I'm going to read a few from a series that I'm working on called, not called, I don't know what the title of it will be, but it's about the vegetable lamb. And the vegetable lamb, here's the spoiler, is actually a cotton plant. But at one time, when explorers discovered it, they thought that the cotton plant was growing little tiny lambs on it. And so much so that I have this fabulous book by Henry Lee. And I want to read you the excerpt of that language used at the time to describe it. This lamb was described as being at the same time both a true animal and a living plant. According to some writers, this composite plant animal was the fruit of a tree, which sprang from a seed like that of a melon or a gourd. And when the fruit or seed pod of this tree was fully ripe, it burst open and disclosed to view within it a little lamb, perfect in form and in every way resembling an ordinary lamb naturally born. This remarkable tree was supposed to grow in the territory of the Tartars of the East, formerly called Scythia. And it was from the fleeces of these tree lambs, which were of surprising whiteness, the natives of the country where they were found wove materials for their garments and headdress. Naturally, as I would, I've created a fictional world where there are boys who go to be the shepherds of this crop flock of vegetable lambs. And they leave the village down below where the girls work in the factory, making things out of the fleece and the byproducts of the vegetable lamb. So the first couple are about the boys. We were the second sons of young mothers who lived in their shoes. We learned how they were forbidden from tying a knot. The endless thread of our mouths searched under their blouses for a few sweet drops before they let us go. This one's called We Sing Ourselves to Sleep. I'm not sure how much to say about the story about these, because you need to read more poems to really get the story, but when the second born boy is the one who gets chosen to go and be a shepherd, and this is about how they travel up to the pastures. We sing ourselves to sleep. As is the custom, we were prepared for safe travel. A few grains of rice, blessed by the priest, and stitched into satin binding around a blanket of the softest fleece. We were wrapped and released into the hired hands of nomads on enormous horses. This we know because the men call us brave. They tell us how it took many days after they headed into the sun. They took breaks to feed us yak butter, a rough finger smear across our lips. Water from bronze spoons dipped into springs along the trek. This story is what we have. We tell it again today when a new boy arrives, face chapped and bright. We all come around to gladly touch his swaddling cloth, opening it to feel his fingers and toes. He begins to cry, and we let him, as we think about our own frayed and time-worn scrap, what remains of her, what is never spoken of, what is always held dear. I am the oldest. It is my turn to hold him with my hand under the back of his head. I carry him out to meet the flock. The calm scent of his breath fills the pasture, and he is baptized with quick, dry licks across his newborn skin. The moon is faced away, so we light a fire, and I rock him. We sing lo-la-di-la, lo-la-di-lo. It takes all of our voices to make one mother. And I have a couple that are about the girls. This is a coming of age scene. The changes do not come all at once. One day, the girls get called into the room of new words. They watch a film strip and linger at one frame where the outlines glow dim, like the X-ray of a vase holding a split stem, 2 bulbs of kelp. The lights come up. On slips of paper, they strive for cursive, elegant enough to hide how much they do not know. Questions are folded once and then twice, just to be safe before feeding the wooden box held shut by a diary's padlock. After school, they run down the edge of the Black Sea, arms floating above skirts, tucked up like pillowy turbans that spin into dervishes, sending cloud-white egrets in every direction on charcoal stick legs. In the blind of tall grasses, in their outdoor voices, they call Marco and wait for an answer. This is called Vaccinations. He arrived, and the green light bulb in its cage above the clock turned yellow. We filed into the cafeteria and formed a line. I did as the older girls, unzipped the top of my jumpsuit, pulling the collar over to leave my left shoulder bare. I learned how a doctor takes your hand in his fingertips. The booties over my shoes become blousy. I look hard at a napkin dispenser on the lunch table and swallow. This is a short one. It's called Low Tide. Under dark umbrellas, fair-skinned mothers use the well-versed voice to break other people into smaller parts. The last one I have is about one of the girls. Bird of passage. A certain age is one of many reasons to leave. She helps to fold the children's beds into closets before making breakfast. On the bus, her smooth forehead leans against the cool window, thinking through cautionary tales, a paycheck, and free cosmetics. The old Sumerian trade route runs along leek fields, rye crops, and beets, sulking sunflowers. She plays the game at each corner post of the fence line. Spiny boars in the mud, herds of cows like white maps covered in black islands, dark brown horses with star chakras, or shaggy ponies, chestnut and roan. Polo.